You're listening to Blue Collar CEO, the podcast that's all about helping you build a better, more profitable, and more sustainable home service business. Each week, we'll cover a different topic that will help enable your company to move forward to success. And here's your host, Ryan Redding.
What is up, Blue Collar CEOs? It is Ryan. It is awesome to be with you today. I am getting ready to introduce you to someone that you probably don't know of. This is Eric Light. Eric is interesting because his background is not from the trades, it's from banking. And he is incredibly passionate about building a culture that attracts people, that better engage employees, that takes care of customers. And he even gets a little bit vulnerable about his experience building this culture as a leader. There's a lot of good things we're going to talk about because culture, if you've listened to anything I've ever talked about on any show, on any YouTube video, whatever, you know this is one of the most important topics that is near and dear to my heart. I'm going to shut up now because you don't want to hear from me. Let's introduce you to Eric. Eric, I am really pumped to meet you, to have this conversation today. So thanks for stopping by. I guess I'm curious to hop on in, but I imagine there's people listening right now who maybe don't know who you are. So let's maybe just start there. Who are you, man? What do you do?
So I'm Eric Light. I'm president of a company called Precision Air Heating and Cooling. Grew up locally in the same town that the company has existed for 30 years here. So it's a 30-year-old company. It actually serviced my home back when I was in high school. But
That's crazy.
I'm raising a family a few miles from here in Downingtown, Pennsylvania, right outside of Westchester. And so I have fun doing a little bit of everything. So I'm the owner of the company, but I'm also a service tech when needed, an installer when needed, and a little bit of everything else. So a counselor was needed, but just having a lot of fun, honestly.
Yeah, that's awesome. And for those who maybe don't know the Pennsylvania area, you are like Westchester's like a burb of Philadelphia. So like you probably are a huge fan of Rocky because that's what you should do.
Yeah, if Philadelphia Eagle country and Flyers, Rocky, all that stuff. So yeah, we're about 45 minutes outside of Philadelphia, and service kind of the surrounding market to Philadelphia.
So I'm curious because what's really important for you is culture. But before we get into that, I kind of want to backpedal because obviously anyone who's like listened to the show or like watch our podcast or watch our YouTube channel know that I'm a huge advocate for culture. I think it's one of the most simultaneously most underspoken about topics in business today, and also the most buzzworthy topics that a lot of people throw the words around but don't mean anything. So I would argue that it's a really, really important topic that either is poorly represented or not represented, but very well, like not very much in the middle. But your background to get you to where you are not from the trades. What did you do prior to the position you're in now of owning this business? Because I think the background that you bring influences the way you think about this topic called culture. So like, tell us, like, since you weren't a plumber, you weren't an HVAC tech, like what's your background that got you to where you are?
Yeah, so I was in banking, which really traditional banking, just the consumer branch world and small business world. So when you think of banking, what you think about. So that was my world, and I started off with a large bank, and then was with a small community bank, and got to see right away, beginning my career, what that difference meant. And I said that you went from spreadsheet business, where everyone was a number and everything was a conference call, to handshake and hugs. Which was the community bank side, which I really enjoyed. That was a lot of fun. And the difference was the culture of the bank, which back then, honestly, the culture wasn't a big buzzword. It was just, hey, these are nice places to work, and we really like our customers. And then I had the opportunity shortly after that to join a small startup bank, which had that idea, and they really came together. And my boss, who I'm still friends with 16 years later, said, Eric, we liked the way your branch felt. That was really interesting to us. And that's what we're trying to go for. And that was unique in my mind, saying how it felt. And that came back to the way the people acted and treated the customer. And then, that reflected back on how I treated the team. And so they said, hey, we want you to come work for us. And so I had a 10-year run at this bank where, again, you're selling money, commodity. And the opportunity was, how do we beat other banks out there? And it came back to have the best experience with customers. How do you do that? You back into have the best people. So our goal was focused on just building a organization from the top down that felt really good and you felt comfortable. And I always use the word, safe. You feel really safe there. And if you feel safe at work, you feel good. And then it was really just promoting and pushing successes that occurred on a daily basis that were represented who we wanted to be. And that took us very far. And we didn't have a huge marketing budget. We had no brand awareness. It was our customers just preaching, "Hey, these guys are great." And what does that mean? It meant the team was great, and it was the employees. And so I learned a lot during that 10-year run. And then we sold that bank to a regional bank that had a huge focus on culture. And so, although it was an adjustment, it was unique coming into that organization where they lived and breathed every single day what it meant to
Mm.
have the culture, which was, again, treat the customers right, but more importantly, treat the employees the right way. Because if you have the best employees who care, they're going to care about your customers. And so coming over to the HVAC space, they said, "Oh, it's a big adjustment." The reality is it's a people business. The people that represent this company are out on the road every day and they have the choice. They have the option of how they want to act in front of a customer. If they feel really good and they believe in the organization, they're going to reflect that in every interaction. And that's what I've seen, and that's the goal there.
So let me ask you this, uh, because it seems like the way if someone isn't careful, they could take the way you're talking about culture and talk about it as like employee engagement or employee morale. But from our brief conversations, I think you mean something much broader than just like, oh, we want happy employees. Like the when you're at the hospital and you see those like graphs of like how bad is your pain, and like you have the
Mhm.
frowny face and the happy face. Like, I think you're meaning far more than just like we want happy faces. When you think about culture, like what does that mean to you? Like, what does that encompass?
So for mine, it's having people feel successful. And that's not just in the business side. That's not just in their daily, what they're supposed to do here. It's actually getting to the bottom of each team member and saying, what is it that you want to be successful with? And as we all know, a lot of it is, okay, I want to be better at work. That's great. Well, I want to learn more. I want more education. That's fine. That's the easy part. My question goes much deeper. What do you want to do in life to be more successful? And how can I help you do that? And that's really where there's a difference. That's really where there's a different conversation because I want to hear everything. And that's where I come in. Well, hey, I want to buy a house. I haven't been able to do that. I want to get into investing in things. I want to, provide a better lifestyle for my children and I need help doing that. They're much deeper conversations. And that's the fun part because said to every person in this business, I said, I want to help you have a better life. That's what I want.
Mm.
And that comes outside of work. So I've had those conversations that are really deep with these employees saying, how can I help you be better? And it's not I don't have all the answers. The opportunity for me is, in coming from the background I did, is I have a huge network of people and they have experience in spaces that I don't. And I always said, the best learning is to connect with great people. And I had a saying in banking, which I carry forward today, which is look for people that are honest, passionate, and successful, and they'll help you. And so now my goal is I can take my network and put it in front of my team and say, what are you trying to do? Who can I introduce you to be more successful? I have a gentleman here in music, and he needed studio relationships for kind of pursuing that. And that's not my space. I can't do anything when it comes to music, But I have friends in that industry, and so I made an introduction, and he was able to connect with that person, get introductions, and continue to pursue his love outside of HVAC, which is music production.
And when people pursue their interests and passions like that, it makes them more engaged and honestly just more enjoyable employees, right? Like, I think a lot of people struggle with realizing that most employees, they have a life outside of their job,
Yep.
right? As an owner, no, that job is all encompassing. Like, we take it home with us, we go on vacations with it, it's there. That is not the case for everyone else that you write a check to, and having diverse interest and feeling like other people are supporting their interests goes a long ways. It's funny. You remind me of Travis Smith with Sky Plumbing, Heating, Cooling. He's been on our show before because they focus a lot on building culture with, like, one of the big things they do is like financial literacy for their team.
Yes.
So, like, here's the goals. I want to buy a house. I want to have this car. I want to provide X for my family. They help them like get the financial model in place so that they understand how to manage money, how to make investment decisions, how to reach their financial goals. And when you think about a company that is so supportive, so hands-on, so engaged, willing to find ways to help you reach your goals, like, those employees now will jump through hoops. like
Well, and that's
now
what I
it's,
want
you know
them
what I mean?
to feel safe, comfortable, but I want them to know I genuinely care about them. And that's what it comes back to. If I'm helping them reach goals that aren't directly impactful to the business, just if they win on that goal, it just helps them personally. Then I believe they know that I do care, and I do. And I've told them, I said, I'm here for you, and I don't just say that, but with this like open, no, it's going, I care. It's like, no, if you're having a rough day, I want to know. I want you to call me, and we'll talk through whatever's causing that stress. And because I do care. I mean, that my whole business for the last 20 years was built on actually caring about the people I interact with, customers and team members. And so looking at this, it really is that I want to have them be successful. I want them to be able to grow, because if they are doing that outside of here, they will be more engaged here,
Yeah.
because I know
Yeah.
Eric, I'm going to go the extra mile on a situation, because I know that if Eric was in my shoes, he'd do that. And because I said, I have a major rule at this company: do the right thing when no one's looking. And that do the right thing when no one's looking is everything from internal employees to external customer facing. If you have a choice to make, do the right thing when no one's looking. I said, I don't care if it costs me money, because that's the reputation of this business. There are too many, there's a kind of a negativity out there towards a lot of businesses, trades, auto repair type stuff, where it's like, oh, people are taking advantage of me. And the reality is I don't want that. And I said, guys, make the right decision. And they have to be in the right mindset to do that, think the right way, and know that Eric will back me. If I make the right choice and it costs the company $500 because I did the right thing for the customer, I'll give them a high five for that every day, because that is the reputation I want to build.
I love that you're thinking this way, because I think so many businesses get focused on the dollars. And look, understandably so. Like, businesses exist to make profit. They're profit machines. They're not nonprofits. Like, I get it. So I'm not knocking the profit motive. But I think what gets lost in the equation that you seem to be laser focused on is businesses exist for and because of the people that they serve, right? So you have a team full of employees. These employees are people. They have kids that have to go to dance classes. They have doctor bills that they have to take care of. Like, they have these emotional needs and things that drive them. Your customers have the same things. They have bills that they're struggling to pay. Nobody wakes up on a Wednesday morning being like, I wonder what HVAC company's around me today.
Yep.
They don't care. So the fact that they even have to call you and interact with you puts them in a pissed off mood. So being mindful of the customer experience, of the customer journey, absolutely makes sense that you would have happier employees. You'd attract better employees, because everyone hates their job. Everyone hates their job. You're going to attract better people. You're going to be able to have those happy people reject negative people, I would imagine. The customers will feel like you care. Yeah, like, seriously,
And
I think
that's what I'm trying to do, is give my team the opportunity to tell a better story. Because
yeah,
when a customer says to them, do you like working at Precision Air Heating and Cooling? I want them to not just say, oh, it's good. Like, that doesn't do anything for anybody. That's like, of course, I want them to say, let me tell you how much I like working for Precision Air Heating and Cooling. Let me tell you the story. Let me tell you what they've done for me. Customers want to hear that, because they want to trust a company, right? This is a long-term relationship that we're coming out to their home on more than once, likely. Many, hopefully most of them will be coming out each year. And then they're going to spend a lot of money at some point with installation needs or something, future investment into their house. And they want to trust and know the people that are sitting across from them. And them having a story to tell, to say, this is the organization I'm a part of, and this is why I'm here, and this is why I'm in your home. That tells a different story, and that gives the customer the feedback to say, not only do I trust these people, but I like this company and I want to support it, because my goal is to grow the business under reputation. And people say, you should call them. You really need to call that company, not only because they do good work and they're trustworthy, but their people are great. And they have a story to tell. And that's really it. And I truly believe that, because that's all we do in life is tell a story. And we're writing one every day. And these, for me to be able to empower my team to tell their own story of Precision Air and how they interact and how they got here and why they're staying and why they enjoy it, that's just something different. And that's what I want to do. And so for me, it's about the recruitment, and the talent is going to come from those same teams saying, man, I like it here. And their friends hearing that, saying, hey, I'm going to get into HVAC, or I'm in another company and I want to join that team, because I know what is a priority there, and the work-life balance is all part of it.
Okay, so let me ask you this. I absolutely agree and respect everything you're saying, and it makes sense. And it seems so obvious that I go, why doesn't everyone think this way about culture and morale and engagement. But but it occurs to me that some people, I think, struggle, and I'm referring to like people who have been in the trades specifically for a long time. So they've taken it on the chin for more than one season. They've dealt with the financial stress. They've had to deal with all the economic flux, all the workforce shortage issues. Like they're carrying a lot of the stress, and they might hear what you're saying and go, "That's great, but I can't do it here. It would never fly in my company and never fly in my town. I can't even find the right people. Like I can't even find any people, much less the right people." What sort of challenges have you faced? And it could be combating the previous culture, like before you came in. But what have you had to overcome to change the mindset when you're starting to focus on culture and building this sort of machine which wants happy people that are successful and have complete lives?
It's hard. I mean, I will say, it's easy to talk about it with you right here. Oh, this is what we do and this is how we do it. But every day is hard in this business. It is harder than my previous career. I will 100% admit that this is hard because it is tough. You're getting phone calls after hours. You have on call. Most companies have some on call. That there's no way to sugarcoat that piece of the business. You have angry customers because things happen, things fail, equipment fails. Even the best technicians make mistakes, and even the best equipment fails. And so it is really hard. So that the challenge every day is keeping that reminder of what are we here to do every day, because you get beat up a lot. Customers, you try to change the culture to make it so customers are recognizing you with good reviews. But the reality is every day something breaks. And as you said earlier, people aren't calling you because their air conditioner is working great and they just want you to come out and see it. They're in a bad mood. They're frustrated. They know there's a check to write that's coming, and we are in a business that collects money, and it's not inexpensive. And it's obviously anyone listening to this in the business understands how much more expensive it has gotten in every way. So the challenge really is the everyday. Just you're getting pushed every day. You're getting yelled at. Not every day, but you are having negative push. So the key really is, and the hard part for me is every day I have to get out of bed, come in here, and say, no matter what happens, I have to lead by example. It comes from the top down. And so it's simple things like sending text messages out to the different technicians to check on them. Ask them how they feel. And again, you're not asking the real deep question. How do you feel? And good, have a conversation with them. Not good, pick up the phone and call them. It's hard. You don't have a lot of time. You're wearing tons of hats as a business owner. So, the challenge is keeping it up every day. It's staying engaged. It's making sure that I talk to each team member as often as I possibly can. It's having them come in and having quick meetings and having fun. I mean, if you're local to my area, Chick-fil-A, I go out and get Chick-fil-A sandwiches when we have meetings. It's simple stuff like that. But the reality is, it's just staying in touch. That's the hard part, because these guys are out in their trucks all day. They might not come back to the office very often, so they're out for days at
Yeah.
a time. So keeping it close, that's the hard part. Keeping that interaction is the hard part. Keeping your head up is the hard part. And I know that every day, and there are some really bad days. Christmas Eve, we had that freeze here in the Northeast. That was a hard day. You're asking everybody to come out and do their part. And it's a long day. It's a cold day. It's a hard day. Systems are failing left and right, freezing. You can't fix a lot of this stuff because it's just too darn cold to fix it even. That's tough. And those are tough days. So the thing I say every day is you got to remind yourself, that, hey, recognize, send out a text message in day. Hey, thanks, team. Reach out to some of the individuals. Make sure the office staff understands, how stressful it is on those tough days where the phone's ringing off the hook and they can't keep up. It's hard. And the other thing I've done is, jump into the shoes. I didn't come from this business, but again, I have a truck, I have equipment. I go out and do calls because I need to show the team that I'm part of this. And even if you've been a business owner and you came from this and you haven't been in a truck lately or at an install or even dispatch, I took dispatch on a few times because I know how tough that can be. And I wanted the team to understand, hey, I'll take the 50 phone calls we got that morning when the freeze came in. It was hard. It was really hard. I got my wife involved and said, I need you to start a spreadsheet, because I was just basically calling out to her as phone calls were coming in saying, information so that we can make sure we didn't miss anyone that day. That's hard. I mean, those are all hard things. So it comes back to that. And I would say it's something that's been said to me for years is be humble. That I think goes further than anything else, is be humble, because we're human beings. We make mistakes. And it's challenging, and we're the goal here is make people feel like you're not above them. You're not, you're just trying to make it work every day like they are. And if they know that and feel that, that's helpful too. But like I said, I just keep coming back to this is a hard business. Any of the trades are just hard.
They really are. I mean, for all the reasons that you really eloquently outlined. Okay, so here's a question, and I hope you don't mind me asking because it's gonna put you on the spot a little bit. Uh, I, I'm gonna hold your toes to the fire and see if you also embody these attributes that you are talking about and exuding as a person sitting in your seat. And look, everyone listening to this show right now, they own their own business, they lead their own business, like they have teams that they're responsible for, they carry this burden of leadership. And anyone who's done it worth a grain of salt knows how exhausting it can be, how isolating it can be, because there's not a lot of people that you can vent that stress to, right? You might be able to take it home to a spouse or a partner, but for most people, it's really hard to find those like peer level people that understand the weight of the decisions, the weight of the consequence, the weight of the burden of like providing for other people's families. It's a big deal that never gets simple. Like no matter how complex an organization is, like that weight is always there. How do you, as a leader, how do you keep yourself in the spot where you don't feel like you're getting pressured and you don't feel like you're getting squeezed and you don't feel like the ever living life is getting sucked out of you because you're always having to lead by example, but you're never able to like find that own stress relief for yourself? Like what have you found to be successful as a leader, if you'd feel comfortable sharing?
So the one thing I have an advantage of is spending time building a lot of relationships in my community with other business owners, and especially in what I would call tough or dirty businesses where you have a lot of the same challenges. And so I am spoiled in the fact that I have a lot of people in, say, pest control, roofing, paving, tough businesses with cyclical nature, with tough finances, all have the same challenge of recruiting talent and maintaining and keeping that talent there. So I feel like I'm lucky that way because I have a group of people that I can be honest with, and that they're honest with me too, because I do get calls throughout the week from all different business owners, and they have the same challenges. Hey, this is what I'm running into. I'm talking to a builder right now, and he was telling me his challenges. Yeah, he has the same things, and so that it's a safe place with those people. And I'm actually looking to put together a group of business owners that it's more about that. It's about learning from each other and having a safe place to have those conversations, because you do need that outlet, and putting it on a spouse or loved one or significant other, that's okay, but it's hard. That's tough for them, and really you're not getting feedback either, other than go give it more effort, or hey, you're doing a great job. That's fine, but you really surrounding yourself with good people has been something I've done my entire career. I look for good people, honest, passionate, successful. That is what I chase for people that I want to spend time with. And so part of that is the other business owners, getting together with them, having lunch, breakfast, coffee, whatever you can do to sit down and say, how are you doing? And ask that question, and they'll ask that question. And you can, again, as long as they're people you trust, you can talk through, and you find that they give you a lot of feedback. Because again, that's why it's about having other tough businesses, because you want them to say, this is how I deal with similar challenges. And no one has the right answer or has all the answers, but especially if you can find that business owner who's grown beyond the scale that your business is in, I feel that they have been able to overcome a lot of things to get there. And so they have a lot of answers. Early on, when I came into this business, I asked a couple people for help, and they provided books, they provided information, and they even had follow-up emails, said, hey, this is how we track reviews. This is how we talk about things in our company. This is how we get our guys to ask. And that's really important information. And so that I would say is the number one thing, is find that network around you. It's not about referrals or trading business. It's about being on a playing field that's similar and being able to rely on those people.
That's actually really good advice. It reminds me of there's a foundation in Michigan, I think, called the Edward Lowe Foundation, and they specialize just in like CEO peer-to-peer roundtables. And the whole concept for them, Edward Lowe, for those who don't know, is the guy who invented kitty litter. Like, so made his fortune back in the day inventing and selling kitty litter. When he passed away, his trust and estate became an entrepreneurial sort of like ecosystem. Like, he was always about trying to develop business owners. But the way that they think about these like CEO level peer roundtables, CEOs know how to solve problems, but they're so tired of their own problems, but they like to contribute with this is what worked for me.
Mhm.
Like, so you have peers not giving you advice, not telling you what to do, but saying, been there, done that. Here's what I did when I was in a similar situation. Maybe you can learn from it. And you start getting these different perspectives from very, very capable people with diverse experience, maybe from different industries,
Absolutely.
but it helps your brain unlock new ways of thinking about things. So yeah, it might not like be a therapy session. That's not the point,
Yep.
but it does create this community of people who understand you. Also, there's a utilitarian function of they can help you think bigger about whatever you're facing. Because
And
no matter what problem you're facing, it's
that's
solved.
something you can create on your own. I'm sure a
Right.
lot of people listening here. One of the challenges, CEO groups, sometimes they have these thresholds. You have to be doing 10 million in revenue or more, and and you're like, I'm not even close to that. Like I'm, not, I'm hoping someday I'll get there. So the key is the value is still there. So if you have, that roofer who you think is just doing a really good job in your market, say, hey, that they seem to get it. Reach out, introduce yourself. See, you're not going to go have the first meeting and pour out everything that's happened in your life, but find some of those people that you say, man, they seem to have something good going on, and I just want to
Yeah.
meet with them, and I just want to get a coffee, and then you quickly decide, hey, is this person I want in my network? Is this someone who I think would be good for me and good for my company, or not? And I think that's something. And it does take time. You can't trust people that quickly. You don't know, and you're not there to, like I said, it's not a session with them. With counseling, sometimes it is really just about business practice stuff, and you start there. So I said,
Yeah.
at any level, at any size, there's always that value. The most successful people I've dealt with always had great mentors with all different varying backgrounds. Business coaches are great, but having just that and people around you in all different spaces, anything that happens in business or personal, it goes across all industry, and that's why a lot of people said, "Oh, your background's banking. How are you doing this?" I always come back to business is business, people are people. It's not
Totally.
that
Yeah.
different. So that's it's just the fundamentals.
Well said. If somebody, how about this? If somebody's listening to you right now and they're inspired and they feel like, okay, they can buy what you're selling about the focus on culture and how impactful that could be. If you had one thing to kind of encourage them, get them off the ledge, like inspire them to take one action point today, what is that step?
The one-on-ones,
Mm,
true one-on-ones, that is a difference, and they don't have to be formalized. This doesn't have to be this scheduled. Every Monday you meet with this person, every Tuesday. That it is truly about making sure you find time for every team member in your organization on a routine basis, so that you don't lose connection there. That's the place to
right.
start, because when you sit down with each person and say, "How do you feel?" That is a great question, and it opens up the door to a lot of conversation. And again, the assumption is, well, if I do that, my employees are going to tell me all these bad things, and they don't. They just want to share what's happening in their life and encourage that. There's a certain level of how personal you want to go, but the question of how are you feeling, it goes beyond just the business. And you start there, it starts opening up, and then that person starts giving you conversation about, well, there's some things we could do here to make things better, and you say, oh, let me take some notes on this. Now all of a sudden you have employees being heard. That is the beginning, because if they feel like they're being heard, and this isn't a complaint session, this is good feedback and an understanding, and now you walk away feeling a little bit smarter about your company and your people, and you do that. If you start there, it'll start, I think it gives you the direction of, what do I need to do better? How can I make adjustments here to make people feel better? That's the simplest way to start. And when you do that, you start feeling like you're winning. And I always used a saying called little wins. If you have little wins every day,
Mm,
it adds up. And if you go
yeah.
home at the end of the day and you feel like you had some little wins, sometimes you feel like you had a really big win that day. And it has nothing to do with the business, what you sold that day. It's that you're moving things forward. And so I always
Yeah.
come back to that. Focus on the little wins with every person, everything. So set that routine up and don't lose track of people. And it doesn't matter who it is in your organization. You need to have that routine conversation. And it's not the, hey, I need this done right now type of conversation. That's not a one-on-one. It is a dedicated few minutes of quiet time. Sit down in my office, have a conversation. Or if your team is remote in some ways, it's hey, can we do a quick call at 5 o'clock for about 15 minutes, maybe on your drive back home, and let's just talk. And there's no agenda, there's nothing that way. Just want to hear how you're doing. And it's amazing how much information you'll get and how much better you feel after having those conversations.
Yeah, and I think it's well said, especially for remote teams like our company right now is largely remote since 2020, and it's building culture at when people are not physically located central to each other has become more and more difficult. And it's just interesting. Like, so like for us, we've had to do, there's companies who like specialize in like remote pizza parties,
Yes.
right? Like
Yep.
they send all the pizza to all these people in various locations and you could time the delivery, or happy hours on a box where it's like has all the ingredients so everyone can join together. Like they can make Moscow mules together.
Yep.
Like it's kind of fun. It's these ways that are like unconventional. They're easy, but they require some thought because you can't just be like, let's go grab a beer. It does require a little bit more work, which is annoying, but still, especially if your team is dispersed and not around humans during the day, it's even more important to keep them connected, keep them feeling like they're valuable and important to you, because it is lonely as hell, like working from home if you have a remote team.
Well, and if you ask the questions about your team and you get to know them, you understand their interests, and then you can cater some of the things you do towards things that they are interested in. And even if they're remote or local, it doesn't really matter. If you find, like I found my installation teams, almost all of them love to play golf. That's great. I mean, that's something they all share.
Who likes to play golf? Sorry,
Yeah,
I should shut up.
Exactly. Surprise there. So again, what if I'm going to put something together for that team? Where is it going to start? It's going to be on a golf course. And again, relationships I've dealt with private golf clubs throughout the Philadelphia area for years, and I had no member everywhere. So for me to be able to say, hey, do you mind getting a couple guys out on the course with me? Anyone wants to share that. They don't use enough of the country club membership. They always say, I wish I would have used it more. Well, here's your opportunity. Hey, Eric's calling and he wants to get some guys out there that haven't been able to play this course. That's a great win. It's something really simple. And again, because that there's a reason, and the guys are excited for it, and they say, Eric listens. He wants us to have fun outside of work, and it's simple things like that. And I have a list of things I've been creating that are unique to say, hey, these are things we're going to do, and I know who it's going to appeal to and who it's not.
If somebody wanted to reach out to you, Eric, to learn more, to pick your brain, like, because clearly you're passionate, you bring a lot of just previous experience, both business and with culture, to the table. How could somebody reach out to you to connect with you?
You'll have my email. That's the best way to connect with me. If you send an email, I'm always willing to help. That's kind of the basis of who I am. And so if you reach out that way and say, hey, this is what I'm doing, have any ideas or conversation, that's it. And again, I'm not a know-it-all. I always joke that, I'm not Tony Robbins. I'm not here that's going to invent something that way. But I've had the experience to be around thousands of people that have given me great advice and are great resources. And I feel like if you have that opportunity in life to give back that information, that knowledge you've seen, I copy great people. And so my goal is, if somebody calls or emails and says, hey, I have a question about this, this isn't, my unique idea. I'll say, hey, this is how I've tackled that. But more importantly, it's usually coming from another source. It's coming from somebody who's really done it. And that's the goal. And like I said, my whole career in banking was trying to find the best people out there to learn from. And I still have that network around me. So it's, I'm not, you ask about real estate. I do some real estate, but am I the pro? No, but I have 50 pros around me that I can call and say, hey, if somebody wants to get into this, what's the best way to attack that? And that's what it's all about. And my hope is, if somebody asks the question, gets a good answer, and is more successful, they're going to take that and they're going to try to teach somebody else something. And if we're all doing that, we're winning.
Yeah, well said. Eric, man, I really appreciate the way you think about this, because it's really important. It's really easy to copy what people do, but the way that people think, I think, is what really reveals the most about kind of how they solve problems. So absolutely respect the mind that you're working with. So grateful that you're able to take the time to come by. Congrats on the success at Precision Air. Keep it up, man. I'll be rooting for you. Go Eagles. Yeah.
Hey, thanks for having me on here. I appreciate it. And if anyone listening has questions, like I said, I'm here to help. It's the fun part of life. Let's do it all together,
Yep. Well said, man. Thanks for stopping by.
This episode was hosted by Ryan Redding, author of the book on digital marketing for plumbing and HVAC contractors, and founder of Levergy, the digital marketing solution for serious home service companies. You can subscribe to Blue Collar CEO on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Visit us online at BlueCollar.CEO and find us on Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week with another awesome episode. See you soon.